Hi, welcome to Ghost Talk. My name is Harold St. John, founder of Toledo, Ohio Ghost Hunters Society. I'm with our tranquility specialist, Michelle Maddox, tonight. Michelle, welcome to Ghost Talk tonight.
Thanks for having me.
No, thanks for joining us. Our good buddy Butch Leon cannot be here tonight, as well as Becky. Becky's working, and Butch has got some family things to attend to, so they will be missed tonight. I'm glad we got together again for this show tonight. It's for several reasons. All over the Halloween season this past month, there was a lot of different cases going on. We've gotten a lot of interesting phone calls and a lot of different types of hauntings. And plus, with our Ghost Hunting 101 class that we just finished, we went over several types of haunting. And one of the things that we didn't even touch on that always interests me was black-eyed children. And I have said that before. A lot of people that really know me know that I'm curious. We've never, in all the years through the Toledo Ghost Hunters Society, ever encountered where a client had come to us and said they had a problem with a black-eyed child or anything close to that. So tonight's show is going to be about black-eyed children, and I want to touch on it. Then I want to share a couple of scary stories. So how you feeling tonight? It's been a long month. We've been really busy. Yeah. As everybody knows that follows us on Facebook, and thanks for joining us tonight on Facebook as well. It's been a really busy month. I was talking to Butch and Becky a little bit earlier. They're both exhausted as well. You and I have been busy today getting ready for our new ghost hunting class that starts Thursday at Owens Community College. And I want to give this thing a little bit of a push through. I talked to Jamie over at Owens Community College Friday, and it looks like the class is starting to fill up. Butch and I were on Channel 11, or no, you and I were on Channel 11 News this past Tuesday on the Your Day show. It seemed to we've gotten a couple more students signed up right after that. So I want to thank Channel 11 TOL Your Day for having us on the air. So.
And if you guys want to get in on Ghost Hunting 102, you don't necessarily have to have taken Ghost Hunting 101, but it does help. However, you can jump right into Ghost Hunting 102, and the class is filling up pretty quickly. So now it's kind of the time.
You know, today, I talked to you earlier, asked if you were going to come up for the show tonight, and we were both doing the same thing. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning and began to work on the class number 1, which is going to be Butch and I talking about the types of hauntings again and some of the equipment that is used to investigate these types of hauntings. It's what we've done is cut it back down to 6 basic types of hauntings. I know there's 20 or 30 different types of hauntings out there, but you know, for Ghost Hunting 102, there's just not enough time and not enough class room time to be able to discuss all these things. So I've condensed mine. I've been working hard all day training, so I got it down to 6 types of hauntings and some equipment that's used to document and capture these types of hauntings. But then something else struck me. I stopped at the EVPs, electronic voice phenomena, as everybody knows. And I thought that was important because you know how old school I am. Some of the best equipment used for investigating, in my humble opinion, is a simple recorder and a camera. So I thought it was important for me and Butch, when we did our class number 1, to talk about EVPs in depth, you know, where they originated. 1 and 12 are aggressive in nature, and a lot of side notes on that. And then it dawned on me, if we're going to talk about video and apparitions, there's been many times where we knew something was there. We picked it up on an audio recorder, and we thought that maybe we should have captured it on video, but at the time, these old school, we only had static night vision at the time. Well, since then, you know, the introduction of infrared and full spectrum cameras have been out, so I think it's time to talk about those things. And I think it's going to be interesting for the class, but we could talk about the wider spectrums of light and that we can see it. They say that some of these entities dance within that light spectrum. So I think class number 1 is going to be really exciting. Class number 2 is going to be Chris Tillman coming back. And I'm really excited about him coming on too. He's going to talk about the K2 meters, what they can and can't do, how they pick up different radio frequencies, the REM pod, which is still not scientifically proven to be, proof of the paranormal. But another thing that interests me is the Kinect camera. As you know, all these conventions that we've been to and all these public events that we've gone to, I keep looking at everybody explaining to me how a Kinect works. So I went out, of course, and I bought the iPad and the Xbox 360 camera, and I still can't get the thing to work. So, but Tillman's going to address all these things in class number 2, and in class number 3, you and Beck, you're coming back. You and I talked briefly earlier today. What's in store? What are you gonna show our students?
Oh gosh, well, I'm still finalizing all of my notes and the entire presentation, but we're gonna get more in depth on the different types of spirits and how to identify it, because as we know, but the public may not know, human spirits are really often misconstrued as something that's demonic, when 99.9% of the time that's actually not the case. It's just a nasty human spirit. So we're going to talk about how to figure out what type of spirit it actually is, and then how to protect yourself from that spirit, as well as if you need to remove that spirit from your presence or from the location. And then we're going to do some deep dives into some of the reasons that spirits manifest the way that they do.
Well, you started trouble with me earlier today. As always, it's the same thing with me. When I asked you about your topics, well, then I stopped doing what I'm supposed to be doing, and then I find myself studying again. And there's a lot going on in the community now. There's so many of us paranormal investigating groups and ghost hunters out there. A lot of these things are our theory, the Togs team's theory. But
Right.
I find it really interesting as I watch other paranormal investigators state that, about giving exorcisms. And I don't want to get into a big controversy about any of this. I find, the demonic activity, interesting, scary, but yet interesting. It's way above my head. But, I found myself the last week or two in my quiet times getting and preparing for class. I found myself studying again. So I think that that's a good thing. And there's always room to learn. So I'm excited about the Ghost Hunting 102 class. We won't spend a whole lot more time on it, but Ghost Hunting 102 starts Thursday at Owens Community College. I think we have a phone number, but I know that the email address is owensworks.com. And at the end of this short presentation, I'll share the phone number with you. So get a hold of Owens if you want to do this Ghost Hunting 102. And we'll book I think the fourth class is going to be a field trip again. We don't have that location set. It looks like Nick's got a question.
Yeah, Heather wanted to know how much the cost of the class is.
It's
believe that-
$89.
Yeah, the class is $89, and that might seem kind of expensive, but you're getting 4 weeks worth of classes. They're 2-hour classes on every Thursday, and that final week, we actually take the entire class to a known haunted location that Togs has verified is haunted, that we've got actual evidence from, and allow you to investigate and teach you how to investigate on the property. So not only do you get 3 weeks worth of really great information that you're not going to get anywhere else, you also get the chance to actually investigate with us.
Well, and the one thing I did was, with that price, I checked the Owens Community College, the work and play brochures and the other classes that they offer. And the $89 is right in line with every other course they offer.
Right.
I still think, I don't think Owens is making a ton of money off of this
No.
by any means. But,
And neither are we.
but to offer it, I think, to the public is groundbreaking and phenomenal on itself. So, obviously, Owens Community College is going to charge fees. They open up their building, their classrooms to us. And,
Right.
but it's not out of line. Any of their cake decorating classes, for instance, are $89.
Right, right. And ghost hunting is way more interesting than cake decorating.
To me, anyway, so. Is there any other questions, Nick, or was that the only one?
No, that was it so far.
Okay. Anyways, I wanted to talk about ghost hunting classes at Owens, which I did. But now I want to share, and I'm trying to look at the screen a little bit too. Black-eyed children. If there's anybody out there that's watching that's ever encountered a black-eyed child, would you please jump on and comment? This is one of those types of things where there's just not a whole lot known about it.
Right.
And I may read a little bit here, but I'm gonna try to pick. Usually they're from the ages of 6 to 16, pale skin, black eyes. Most of the time you can see them hitchhiking, or they show up at your door late at night, or they'll approach your car and ask for a ride. The old saying is, don't let them in. Don't let them into your car. Don't let them into your home.
And most often, as far as the traditions that I'm aware of, black-eyed children tend to be a harbinger of bad omens.
Yeah, I've heard the
They bring
same thing. Which is really funny. Well, not so much funny, but I never heard about these things till the late 1990s. So
Right.
I don't think that this type of phenomenon it goes back way in time. And everything I've tried to research, I can't find anything on it from the 60s, 70s, or 80s.
Right.
What would cause something like that to be something new? Could it be something new?
Yeah, it's possible. We're discovering new things in the paranormal realm, every day. But there's also kind of a non-paranormal flip side to it that some of these people could be mistaking, especially like back in the 60s and 70s, these teenagers with black eyes maybe actually being on an alternate substance.
Sure. Yeah.
But
And the other thing I hear is, in most cases, when you're in front of a black-eyed child or a black-eyed child approaches you, you're overwhelmed with fear and anxiety and panic. So it's almost you can sense that there's something not right about them before. And usually their heads are down; they don't make eye contact with you right away. But even before that, even before they make that eye contact, you can feel that fear and that anxiety and a little bit of a panic. What I get is, I'm always interested in creepy stories. So I had to pull out a couple of stories to share with everybody that I found, eerie and fascinating tonight. So I'm going to just try to handpick, but I'm going to be looking at my notes, but I want to share a couple of black-eyed children's stories with you tonight. So there's a little bit of notes and what I just went over. So Nick, we have another question.
Yeah, Tim just wanted to know if there's any spots around here that they've been seen, or if there's any local legends.
Tim, that's a great question. I have searched the internet and talked to a dozen people this week about these black-eyed children. I don't know of one case local here in Toledo, and that's part of why this show is on tonight. I was hoping to reach out to the public and anybody that may have a story. I was hoping that maybe they would share it with us tonight. So maybe before the show's over, maybe we'll get something on these black-eyed children. So
I've heard some urban legends out in Lima.
Outline, what did you hear?
I heard that it was kind of like a Children of the Corn type thing, where some people would see them running out of the cornfields. Now, that's an urban legend. I can't verify that. I've not actually spoken to somebody who's seen it.
That's kind of a serious story.
Right.
This first story was called The Midnight Caller, and I got this off the internet, so I'm sure you guys can find it as well. But this story talks about a lady who was awakened in the middle of the night. I'm switching screens, and I'm not really even sure what I'm to, but I just want to share a bunch of eerie pictures with everybody. Anyways, she was awakened in the middle of the night, about 2 a.m. And she had a 3-month-old puppy that was just going crazy, just growling and barking, and then it would come to the door. And so she got out of bed and she heard a knocking at the door. I know this sounds strange because I'm reading it as well. When she approached the door, obviously she was a little bit leery because it was so late at night. The dog began to act up even crazier, and as she grabbed the door handle to open up the door, the dog got really growling, and it was just a 3-month-old puppy, never acted that way. The thing was, before she could get the door open, it had a pane of glass on the side, and she was looking out the glass, and she saw 2 young children out there. One seemed to be about 16, the other one seemed to be about 11 years old, and they were both looking down. One had a sweatshirt on, a hoodie, and the other one was just dressed in, I guess, in a flannel shirt. So she instantly felt this panic and fear that goes along with these black-eyed children. So she didn't really open up the door, besides a crack. And of course, the children immediately, with their heads down, asked her to will you let us in? We're cold. Can we use your phone? My mother would be worried about us. She thought that was really odd and strange. She wasn't going to open up the door, but she didn't know what to do. So she thought to herself, this is really crazy. Why would they be out here in the middle of the night? And why don't they have their own cell phone? I mean, everybody has a cell phone today.
Right.
So she had asked them, why don't you have a cell phone? Why can't you call your mother? The one looked up and they looked at the other black-eyed children. They didn't say anything to him, but it was almost like mental telepathy. They both said simultaneously that their phones are dead. Would you just let us in, lady? We're cold. We need to use the phone. Well, she felt a tremendous, overwhelming fear amongst herself, so she wasn't going to let them in. She had no idea what black-eyed children were at this time, but she said, listen, why don't you give me your phone number and I'll call your mom. At that point, they got a little bit hostile. They got a little hostile and a little bit more aggressive. Why don't you just let us in the house? What are you afraid of? She looked back, and the dog at that time then went to the opposite, but she could see it through the rooms, and the dog was hiding under the table, curled up, and the dog never did. So the dog knew something really strange on these things that she was starting to feel. Anyways, the children got quite aggressive. She did not open up the door. She chain bolted it back shut, And when she began to walk away from the door, she didn't really know what to do, but she could still hear the children talking. Lady, are you not going to let us in? She went back in the house and she had called one of her neighbors and awakened them and said, there's 2 children here at my door. Will you come over here? I'm a little bit afraid. Either way, she went back and looked up the pane of glass to see if they were gone. And somehow the children knew she was still behind the door, and they looked up at her, and sure as heck, they had black eyes, and they were great. It just scared her to death. So she went back to the back of the house waiting for her neighbor to come over. By the time her neighbor come over, they were gone. So she thinks that once the children saw her on her phone calling her neighbor, they had just left. It was a great black-eyed, it was a scary black-eyed child. So go ahead, Nick, you got a question?
Oh yeah, Tim had another question. He was wondering if the black-eyed children are possessed children or if they're just entities themselves.
Go ahead, Michelle.
Well, it depends on what tradition you follow, but the general consensus is that they're separate entities. They're not possessed children. Possessed children tend to not wander around on their own, and they act quite differently. These tend to be more like harbingers of doom. They're an entity that brings some sort of malfeasance into your life, so they're not normally possessed kids.
No, I just think there's so very little known about them, at this time that, maybe in the coming years we'll find out something different. I have one more story that I want to share, and this one was probably one of my favorites. And I've told the story just this week. I think I even explained it to Nick, who's running the camera tonight. I think I told him this story. So, I think everybody here is bored with it, but I found it a pretty good story. There was a guy who wrote for, and let's just say Washington, D.C. Maybe it was Philadelphia, but I want to say Washington, D.C. He was an editor for a paper, and he was working late one night editing papers, and he realized that he didn't deposit his check. It was on a Friday night, apparently, and he needed to deposit his check that night for it could get credit on a Saturday. So he had taken time off work, to run to the bank. Well, of course, the bank was closed, and the bank where he worked was probably not in the best of neighborhoods. But that was the bank he went to, was close to work, and then we could get back to work. So he had pulled under their street light right outside the bank that we could fill out his deposit slip and sign over his check. And when he first got there, he had his window cracked a little bit because for air. It wasn't, I don't think it was incredibly cold, but he had his window open a little bit. He had saw 2 kids standing off in his peripheral vision, but he didn't think anything of it. And he started to continue to write. When he looked up, they were already there, right just outside his window. And when he looked up, they had their heads down, same thing, grayish looking. One had a hoodie on, apparently, and the other one's head was down. The only thing I think he described was one may have been a female, excuse me, and the other one he knew was a male. One looked to be 16, the other one maybe 14. Again, he spoke of that sense of immediate dread, the fear, the anxiety, the panic within him, that something just wasn't right. So he didn't unroll the window. He immediately reached over and locked his door. So he was afraid enough to lock his door immediately. Maybe it was the neighborhood he was in. I'm not sure, but in the story, that's what he had said. So he spoke to him through the crack of the window. Can I help you, kids? And they never looked up at him at first, and they asked to get in his car, that it was cold outside, that they needed a ride home, that their mother would be worried about them. He was fighting between himself, bad kind of a neighborhood. Should he let the kids in? Should he give them a ride home? And he said, well, where are your parents? And the one kid said, again, our parents will be worried about us. Mister, it's cold out here. Can you just let us in to get warm? And we need a ride home. Something told him, don't let him in. And that's the thing about black-eyed children. There's that sense of panic that everybody feels is just enough that you're hesitant, to open up your door, your car door, open up your front door for them. And he said, well, where do you live? The kids didn't deter at all. They just said, Mister, open up your door. We have to get in. At that time, he was in a full-fledged panic. He had rolled up his window and started his car and pulled away quickly. And he looked through his rearview mirror, and that's all he could see him was standing under the streetlight, still staring at him. But he said to this day he could never explain it. But And once again, right at the end, they looked up once they got angry, and he said they just had the blackness of eyes. It looked like they had no eyes. He was petrified. He was an editor for a respected newspaper. Did he encounter black eyes? I tend to think he did.
Right.
I can't explain it. I don't understand it, but thank God he didn't let him in. I think the moral of the story is they're looking to get in. Now, here's the funny thing. We hear all these great stories, all these creepy stories. We have never seen an interview or read a story after the fact that somebody did let him in. So to this day, I don't know what happens if you let them in. Nick, you have another.
Yeah, Sue kind of had a question related to that. She just wanted to know like what the black-eyed children's intent is.
Well, I firmly believe that it's got to be something bad. I mean, the way they're aggressive, the way they're pushing. I mean, somebody standing there that looks like a great person with black eyes. I don't think it's Uncle Charlie coming to Thanksgiving dinner. I mean, I'm not sure. And if you go over the internet, there's not a lot of stories about what their intents are, but everybody senses fear. Everybody senses panic. Everybody senses this overwhelming anxiety that comes along with it. The feeling of dread, the feeling of doom. I think there has to be something to that. I think their intentions are probably bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you think?
Well, with everything on the other side being based on intent, when something is trying that hard to get into your property,
Aggressively.
to get at you, I mean, you have to assume that it's negative at that point.
I would think so.
Positive entities are not going to demand to come into your house.
Well, you know what? On a side note, if a black-eyed child shows up at my door, I'm not really going to know what their intent is. I'm not opening up the door. I'm not going to let them in.
No.
So, and there's in the last 20 years, there's now hundreds and hundreds of stories out there about black-eyed children. Some say it could be alien. Some say it could be demonic. So I just don't think any of us really know for sure what they are.
Yeah, I wouldn't say demonic, since demonic is so rare, even rarer than black-eyed children are, but it's definitely not good. And actually, now that I think about it, we did kind of have a black-eyed child case, the one we did on the east side, where they saw that child running up and down the property line.
Yeah, there could have been.
Yeah, the client said she thought that the child might have been a black-eyed child.
I know that I personally have never encountered it.
Me neither.
I kind of hope I don't. But it's like shadow people. It's this one of those doppelgangers. They're kind of rare, I think, and they're the least known about. I just don't think that we can explain what they are at this time. I don't. 20 years of as far back as it goes. Maybe time will tell us more about what they are.
Right, and they're very hard to investigate because it's not a recurring issue. It's
Right.
not something in a home
It's an
where,
encounter.
right, it
it's
happens
personal
once
encounter.
and then it's over.
And there's many other stories. The thing I have seen, most of these stories of people that have dogs sense these things approaching long before they knock on your door or long before they approach your car or approach you. They're talking about most of these stories. These dogs were docile. They were very tame and very calm dogs. And once they approach the door, these dogs become very, very aggressive and very, very protective. The one lady spoke that when she was trying to open up the door, the dog was basically going after her. She said it was one of the sweetest dogs she's ever had. The more she tried to open the door, the more aggressive the dog was. And she said once she got the door open, the dog turned around and ran. Later on, when that encounter was over, because she immediately shut the door again, she had found her dog upstairs in a spare bedroom that was rarely used, hiding under the bed. And this was a pit bull.
Wow.
So that story was amazing that I had read, I think, yesterday or today. I mean, there were so many stories. I didn't know what stories to share with everybody, but some of them were really creepy. I think we don't know that much about black-eyed children. I'm tending to believe that it must be a phenomenon that's true, but
Right.
too many people and respectable people are having encounters.
Right.
We just don't know that much about them, and I think until we do, just leave it alone. I would think, and I don't know what you can. I mean, you can go on a ghost hunt if you want to capture maybe an entity or something, but I don't think there's any way you can go to capture this type of phenomenon. I think it's just wait and see, and as they approach you. So.
Right, and I mean, common sense says since it's probably negative, everything screams that it's a negative entity. You really don't want to seek them out anyway.
No, I don't think so. Anyways, in the next week or so, in the next couple of days, I want to ask you if anybody's had an encounter with a black-eyed child or black-eyed children in any way, shape, or form. I really do want to hear your story. This thing has always interested me. And I think science will help us out in the next few years, and maybe we'll get to the bottom of this type of, I mean, do you consider this even a haunting? I guess you would. I mean, it's a haunting, it's an individual, personal haunting, but.
Yeah, it's a very short period haunting. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely part of the paranormal realm.
And I've never read a story yet where it's happened to them twice, or the same encounter, it happened a second time. You know, like if your home's haunted, you know, even if it's residual, you'll have the same things playing over and over again. Or if you have a house where the intelligent haunting, you know, goes on every day or a couple times a week. This is one of those encounters that happens, and it doesn't seem to reoccur. So I don't know what causes it. You know, another interesting question is, why did they pick these people? What do you think their motives was? What do you think made them choose? Like, why would they choose you and not me?
Right, because there's no like, there are some entities that seem to show up like Mothman, and then something big happens, or the doppelganger, and then you get cancer. But there's no correlation. Nothing majorly bad seems to happen after these.
Yeah. Well, and we wouldn't know about it because I've never read a story yet that I let them in, and this is what's happened.
Right, and then we had coffee and cake, and it was great.
I've never heard of anything like that. So, anyways, if you've got a black-eyed children story, please post it on our Facebook page or message us. So
yeah, we'd love to hear it.
Anyways, I think that was a great show. Let's see if I may have another spooky thing. Oh yeah, I got a lot of spooky pictures. That's what they look like. They can be boy or girl. Most of them are from the ages of, I think, 18 down. Most of the stories I read are from the age of 12 to 16, actually. So I'm looking forward to seeing if anybody has a story out there to share with us. Anyways, that's what I want to talk about. Once again, I want to talk about our Ghost Hunting 102 class coming up this Thursday at Owens Community College. If you're interested in ghost hunting or paranormal investigating, big difference between the two, but I think this course can help you with that as well.
Yeah, and it can help you ghost hunt safely. I mean, anybody can run outside and into a graveyard with a recorder or a camera, but if you want to do it safely and not end up in trouble, both physically and spiritually, learning how to do it the right way is really.
You know what? And maybe we can all learn something. I've been to lectures, all day lectures and presentations, and I was always told if I could take out 5 to 10% of something from that presentation and learn something from that that it made it worth it. So, I think it is. I think it will be worth it.
Oh, 100%. Plus, not only do you get a copy of all of the presentation notes, you get to see all the equipment. You get to see some equipment you might not have seen except for on TV with ghost hunters. And you get to touch that equipment, and then we do a deep dive on some topics. Nick has a question?
Yeah, we have a comment. Carmen mentioned that she said Dan wanted to share that he saw a black-eyed skateboarder kid at Portside in the 90s. Thought it might be contacts, but that was before colored contacts. But he says it was creepy.
That's the Dan from class, and he didn't share that story with me. Ask Carmen when when am I going to see Dan again? I want to hear this story. Actually, I want to document this story.
Yeah, that'd be great. Can I have my ghost talk?
Yeah. You see if Dan will come out sometime, maybe I can ghost talk. Anyways, hi Carmen, hi Dan. Dan, I want to hear this story on the black-eyed children. It's something that personally interests me and always has from the very first time I've heard it. So,
100%.
Yeah, I think I'm excited that I found somebody that's had an encounter. So.
And it's not a Children of the Corn urban legend.
Right. Well, Halloween is come and gone. We've had a very busy month. We've done a handful of presentations and lectures, public, some of them to some packed houses, but all the groups were good, and we've had a lot of fun. But that's behind us now. I get to, I'm going to sit down this month and work on my class, and you guys work on your parts of the class. But more importantly, I found myself in the last week or so, since Halloween's passed, is the quiet times in the middle of the night. I'm able to now work on the book. So I'm on the 7th or 8th story now on Ghost Talk Paranormal Ohio. So I'm getting excited about that. I'm working with Fred. He's getting together our book cover, and I shared a couple things on Facebook earlier. What the book cover might look like. They're working on the back cover now with another graphic artist. So
I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I am. The stories are going good. I've done a bunch of interviews with some clients. I interviewed Ian Alberts from from Maxwell, and Ian's going to be a guest on our show here to talk about the Maxwell awning.
You guys are gonna love that.
Yeah, he
That's
said
great.
the house is, well, he's always said the house has had a life of its own. And
Right.
it goes to sleep and then it comes alive, goes to sleep, and he says the house is somewhat back alive now. So Ian has agreed to come on the show and talk about this. I talked to a couple of our clients from the Windhurst case and interviewed them this week. I got more interviews to do there. So
Really? How are they doing?
they're doing pretty good.
Awesome.
Some things have changed, but it's funny. Some of the investigations we've done over the past few years, some of our bigger cases, I don't want to say it's necessarily true, but it seems that some of the investigations that we did at private properties, or some of the things that were held confidential, some of the places we walked in, you got some of our biggest documented evidence. These clients are now, and things are changing. They're coming forward a little bit.
Mhm.
They want to tell their stories. They want to share their stories. So I had asked a few of them that they minded being in our book. I think it's important to me, with this book coming out, not only do we talk about Ohio, we're talking about Nelsonville, Athens, and Gloucester. There's a creepy place down in Haydenville, the tunnel that we did. We did a family's old cabin that sits in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains in Gloucester. That was an amazing story, and we just got so many stories that are going to be in this book. And I began to interview some of the past clients to refresh my memory, to see what they're doing now. And unanimously, they're all agreeing that they want their story to be told in the book. So this book is going to feature probably 12 or 14 stories right from the Toledo area. So I think that that's a great thing.
Yeah.
How many stories do you read about Toledo, Ohio? And it's rich in hauntings. I mean, it's rich in history. It's rich in tradition. But not too many people talk about, rather than just a blurb here or there, about the hauntings in Toledo. So this book is going to bring out several personal cases as well as some public cases. So I've been working on the book a lot this week, and it feels good. I'm hoping to have it out, hopefully in the spring. I'm sure hoping that we can get that done. So what else is going on with Toes? It looks like we're going to have a meeting next Thursday.
Yeah.
You're going to be interviewing some people, I think.
Yeah, we are. We're still taking applications for a research position. We're looking for somebody who can help us research cases. If you've been to our Ghost Hunting 101 class, you know how big research is before you walk into an investigation. So we're looking for a candidate that's familiar with researching properties and finding old records, even having to go to the library and going through the old film rolls. So if you have any kind of experience with research, whether it be properties or otherwise, and you're familiar with how to use things like IRIS and the death record search, things of that nature, please let us know. You can go to our Facebook page and hit message us, and then send us your contact information. We will be doing interviews this coming Sunday at a meeting that we're going to have, so definitely get your applications in quickly.
You have 3 or 4 interviews set up already. I think
We
you
do.
guys are going to be interviewing. Also, we posted our, now that Halloween is over, we posted our Christmas wish post on Facebook, and we're getting a lot of feedback on that. I think this Sunday, the group is going to choose a family to sponsor. So if there's anybody out there that needs some help this Christmas, and we all get in trouble sometimes. It's nothing to be ashamed of or nothing to be embarrassed about. Sometimes you could use a little help. So, and this is something that Toes does. We had the pleasure of sponsoring a family of 3 or 4 girls, and I won't mention any names, but you know what makes it all worth it. A few days before Christmas, we got really lucky. A lot of involvement. We had gift certificates to the grocery stores and the local Kohl's, or I don't want to say names, but department type stores. But I remember going into the house, and I was carrying, all you girls were bringing in all the presents for the girls, which was really kind of cool because they were just so excited.
They were very happy.
And I remember carrying in the baskets of food, and one of the younger children first came out to the kitchen, and it's kind of sad. The first thing they did was open up the milk.
Yeah,
And
they were really
wanted-
excited
they
about the
wanted-
milk.
They wanted a glass of milk, and I turned around, and I didn't see a Christmas tree or anything, but they all seemed to be so festive. And then I looked over on the wall, and they had Scotch tape a light cord to the wall in the shape of a Christmas
Yeah,
tree.
it was very, very innovative.
Yeah.
They had made their own
This
Christmas tree. It was
this
great.
family really knew what the true meaning of Christmas was. And at the time, it tickled me somewhere deep inside, but it also saddened me. I
Right.
remember when I pulled away from there, even your most seasoned paranormal investigators, can find themselves, afraid sometimes, but also, touched by certain things. And that family touched me. And I made a promise to myself, and I think we made a promise as a team that we were going to try to continue to do this to the best of our ability. So the Christmas wish is up and running.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of feedback already, but if you need some help, message us on our Facebook page. Call the ghost office upstairs. It's 734-224-0003. You can call anytime. Give me 24 hours and I'll get back with you.
Or send us a Facebook message. I know how hard it is to ask for help publicly. We definitely don't want to put your personal business out there. So message us on Facebook or go to TOGHS, that's togs.org, and send us a message that way. Our group is not just about going out and investigating hauntings and then teaching these classes and doing the presentations. We really want to be involved with the community and give back as much as we can.
And to be 100% confidential.
Yes.
Nobody needs to know a thing. And we are happy to do it. We're grateful that we have an opportunity to do it. So all kidding aside, Christmas season's coming. It's coming quick. Not that the haunting season is over, because that continues all year long.
Yeah,
but,
that doesn't stop.
I wanted to take the time tonight to mention that with all how busy we were with Halloween. It's never over. Isn't it funny? We thought we did all these Halloween presentations, these public lectures, and now the Halloween's passed. Becky has gotten a couple of calls this week, and we're scheduled through November already for our presentations. Our public appearances are not over, so we have a couple more to do this month.
Yeah, that's not really that unique. I remember last year we were pretty busy right through November too. So October is a crazy month for us. We're so booked, but it's nice to see that the public is still interested. And
Sure. Well, and the beauty of all of that, no matter how busy we are, I still think that we stand firm by our roots. We have a couple of cases that I can't discuss tonight.
Right.
One's down in Napoleon, Ohio, of some families that may be in a little bit of trouble, a little bit afraid, and some things going on that they can't explain. And obviously, they've called the office and made contact with Becky this week. I was sitting the night before last when Becky was on a phone interview with a nice lady down there. So we have a couple of more private investigations that we really can't talk about tonight. But once again, this reminder: if you're in trouble, you got a haunting, you have something going on in the home that you can't explain. It's not, you don't necessarily need an investigation, but maybe you need somebody to talk to, or maybe somebody to explain some things to you. There's no cost from an investigation to a house cleansing. Anything that we do for a private residence or a private investigation, there's no charge. So
right,
those things remain the same. And you got a couple you have a couple of house blessings that you're doing this month. How are those going?
Yeah, they're well. I've got one scheduled that I'll be doing in the next couple of weeks, and then another one that we're just keeping in touch with the client and waiting for their schedule to open up a little bit. But definitely some fright there, and we're going to take care of that. Even if you aren't, if you don't want an investigation and you just want someone to come in and do a blessing and kind of
somebody that
like
needs
your
help.
house, yeah, we can do that. And again, we don't charge for that. I mean, you don't pay us one penny. We do things like teaching the classes and doing some of the presentations that we do, and then Ghost Hunt with the Pros that we're going to start up.
Oh yes, we should have brought it up. The Ghost Hunt with the Pros, we may be doing one in November, December. Am I wrong?
Yes.
Were we talking about a lady downtown in the warehouse that made
we're talking about.
So
We're talking
stay
about
tuned.
maybe
Yeah,
doing
stay
one
tuned to
in
next week's Ghost Talker page. Stay tuned on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
We have a Ghost Hunt with the Pros coming up. That's another thing. I did get a message from a lady where her sister's been ill and it's on her bucket list, so she's following us closely. Ghost Hunting with some Pros, we get together for like maybe a 30-minute class to go over equipment and stuff, and then they get an opportunity to investigate some of them for the very first time, which I find is really cool.
Right, it's kind of like a little mini version of our class. There is a small cost associated, but again, we do those things with the public to bring in some funds to be able to help clients. We're not like paid ourselves to do this as a volunteer position.
So, and
But
what I like about the Ghost Hunting with the Pros as well as anything else is to watch beginner ghost hunters or paranormal investigators, people that's investigating for the first or second time, to watch the excitement on their face. I don't think there's going to be a group of people that's going to be able to match with this last class of Ghost Hunting 101.
Oh my God, they were fantastic.
They were like pros. Dan and Carmen were on earlier talking.
And we got so much activity.
I'm gonna
That
miss
was awesome.
that class when we were at the Toledo Yacht Club, and thanks to them again for allowing us to do it. But what a great night that was.
And you know what's funny? It's a good thing you mentioned that. Klocko, one of our tech guys, him and I and Nick went up and did a session after the class ended, just to kind of close things out and thank whoever was there for talking to us. And I got 2 EVPs on my recorder that night. So not only did the class get a ton of evidence and a ton of activity, but we even continued to get activity after the class. And that's the type of things that you get with Ghost Hunt 102 or Ghost Hunting with the Pros 102, is you can potentially experience that yourself too.
Guess what? I didn't get any of that. I was probably outside having a cup of coffee and blowing a smoke. That's me. Anyways,
You've got some ghost talks coming up too,
that's right.
right?
I got some ghost talks coming up. We're going to try to come back again next Sunday with a new topic. If not, we'll be here the Sunday afterwards. But I want to thank everybody tonight for joining us, and anybody that watches this after the fact. I want to, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you. And it's November now, so we'll see what's new for everybody. And
That was
hope to see you next week. I think that was paranormal.
Yeah, it was totally paranormal.
Anyways,
Ghost
thanks.
cash register.
Thanks for watching, and stay safe and happy hauntings.